Hello friends, today I will be taking a session on 5G air interface. 5G radio is called new radio, so we'll be talking about new radio air interface. So agenda for today's session is 5G new radio capabilities as per ITU. Then we'll talk about 5G new radio usage scenario, various usage scenario of 5G new radio. Then we'll talk about radio bands, frequency bands for 5G. We'll talk about waveform and numerology which is used in 5G radio. Then we'll talk about frame structure. And then what are the different usage scenario of 5G numerology. And finally massive MIMO, beamforming and beam steering. Moving forward to 5G new radio capabilities. So this is a picture which has been taken from ITU report, that is ITU RM2410, which gives technical performance requirement of 5G radio, that is IMT 2020. So 5G is called IMT 2020 in terms of ITU. So let's go one by one. So let's talk about peak data rate. So if you look at this diagram, the dark green color is for 5G and this color is for 4G. 4G is called IMT Advanced by ITU and 5G is called IMT 2020. So if you look at peak data rate, in 5G the peak data rate is 20 gigabit per second, whereas it was 1 gigabit per second in case of IMT Advanced, that is 4G. That is for downlink, and for uplink in 5G it will be half, so 10 gigabit per second. Now let's move to peak spectral efficiency. So if you see spectral efficiency, the peak spectral efficiency in 5G is 3 times better than the 4G. If it was 1x in 4G, it is 3x in 5G. So what it is, in case of 5G, it is actually 30 bit per second per hertz of the frequency. So that means in 5G it was 10 bit per second per hertz. That is in downlink, of course. In uplink it is half, 15 bit per second per hertz in 5G. Okay, so let's move to the user experience data rate. It's here. So in case of 5G it is 100 megabit per second and it was 10 megabit per second in case of 4G. So it's an increase of 10 times. So peak data rate increase was 20 times, spectral efficiency increase was 3 times, and user experience data rate have an increase of 10 times. So when we say user experience data rate, this means that at least 90% of the person will get minimum 100 megabit per second. And in downlink it will be half, 50 megabit per second. Now coming to area traffic capacity. So this is megabit per second per square meter. So it was 0.1 megabit per second per square meter in case of 4G, which is now 10 megabit per second per square meter in case of 5G. Now let's talk about latency, user plane latency. So latency in terms of millisecond, in 4G it was 10 millisecond, whereas in 5G it has to be 1 millisecond. So here also 10 times better latency in case of 5G. And this particular 1 millisecond is defined by ITU for URLLC kind of services, that is ultra reliable low latency communications. For eMBB it's 1 millisecond. And if you look at control plane latency, which is not in this diagram, but control plane latency envisaged by ITU is 20 millisecond, and they have said that they encourage it to be better up to 10 millisecond. When we say control plane latency, it is basically when your phone is in idle state and when it goes active. So the time taken from idle state to going to active where data flow starts, the allowed latency is 20 millisecond. And when we say user plane latency, it is basically end to end when data goes and comes back response. So that is 1 millisecond, end to end millisecond, end to end latency. Okay, let's move forward. So next is the connection density. So if you look at connection density, so it was 1 lakh connection per square kilometer in case of 4G. Now it is 1 million. So 10 times increase in connection density. So 10 lakh connections per square kilometer can be supported by 5G, whereas it was 1 lakh, and this is mainly required for IoT kind of services like various sensors in case of smart agriculture or smart city kind of services. And also connection density will be more when people are, say, in a stadium watching a cricket match or football match. So lakhs of people have gathered, so their connection density required will be very, very huge in addition to the peak data rate. So it is 1 million devices per square kilometer for 5G. And now let's move to the energy efficiency. So network energy efficiency. So if you look at this, if it was 1x in case of 4G, it is 100x in case of 5G. So it's 100 times better compared to 4G. And it talks about network energy efficiency. So that means in a loaded case, the efficient data transmission, and when there is no data, low energy consumption. So these are the two parameters on which it is 100x better than 4G. And of course, reliability is very, very important in case of 5G because it has to support critical services, URLLC kind of ultra reliable and low latency kind of services. So reliability is very, very important. So application like autonomous car or remote surgery, these are very, very important one. Now coming to the mobility. So if you look at mobility in 4G, the maximum mobility supported was 350 km per hour. In 5G it has been enhanced to 500 km per hour, mainly considering its usage in the railways. Okay, and now with this let us talk about various use cases. Now we have seen the capability of 5G radio. Now let us talk about use cases using these capabilities. So there are three broad category of use cases. The first is enhanced mobile broadband, eMBB. So we talked about 20 gigabit per second of peak rate and 100 Mbps user experience rate. Then the next is URLLC, ultra reliable low latency communications. This is mainly for services like autonomous car or maybe remote surgery or automation, industry automation, etc. So mainly latency becomes reliability and latency becomes very, very critical factors here. And MMTC is massive machine type communications, which is nothing but various kind of sensors, IoT devices in very large numbers. So we talked about support of 10 lakh such devices or connection density, which is supported by 5G, which will be utilized. And of course this also requires that those devices are able to operate on a very low power so that the battery, embedded battery, works for 10 years, 20 years. And of course the deep coverage will also be a requirement for these devices, because these devices will be installed at remote location like agricultural field, etc. So it has to be uh, getting a good signal from the 5G radio. So let's see what kind of various services we can envisage. So in case of enhanced mobile broadband, one of the services may be 3D or ultra high definition video telepresence kind of service, or there could be very demanding conditions like stadium, where everyone is trying to take pictures and upload onto the social media or want to send to their near and dear. So there will be a huge requirement of data rate. So eMBB comes into place there. And the other application could be ultra high definition video streaming, like broadcasting could be one of the application. Like today broadcasters goes with very big vehicle with satellite kind of receiver and all. So now that will get replaced. And of course the virtual reality is one of the other application which will be using enhanced mobile broadband capabilities. So what is the requirement? So requirement for eMBB is extreme throughput, that is multi-gigabit per second, ultra low latency to 1 millisecond end to end, and very good user experience or uniform user experience with very, very high capacity. So now machine type, massive machine type communication. In this the application could be smart city, where there will be a lot of IoT or sensor devices installed onto the pole, onto maybe electric meters or traffic signals. So a lot of devices will be there. Houses will have, so all those gadgets will have chip inbuilt, and so smart cities have application for MMTC. Then of course whatever wearable devices will also be connected onto 5G network. So there will be huge number of that. Other uses are a smart home, where most of the devices will have 5G sensors, and of course its application in the agricultural field, where remote sensors and all will be installed. So what are the requirement? Requirement is that these devices or sensors has to be power efficient. So 5G radio has to support that kind of, that with very, very low power it is able to communicate. It has to be very, very low complexity device, and the device cost should be low, network cost should be low, and has to be very, very long coverage, because all these devices will be very, very remote area or inside the houses. So there has to be a long range deep coverage requirement. And finally, URLLC kind of services, ultra reliable low latency kind of services, may include autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars, which has to talk to each other to actually for self-driving, etc. And then of course industry automation is the other requirement, and then robotics or maybe aviation, drone kind of services will also be, say delivery of medicines, etc., using drone and all will be a possibility. So what are the requirement for this? That it has to be very, very high reliable. So the loss should be almost minimal or zero, and of course latency has to be 1 millisecond end to end, and high availability would be the requirement. So there has to be multiple link for failure tolerance and mobility. Okay, so now moving forward to various bands. So because it has to support a wide variety of applications, so in terms of radio bands or frequency bands for 5G new radio will also be very, very wide. So let's look at that. So 5G radio has to support wide range of frequency band, starting from frequencies below 1 gigahertz and the frequencies between 1 to 6 gigahertz, and of course in the millimeter wave also it has to support up to 100 gigahertz. So this is the requirement, that 5G new radio must support a wide range of frequencies starting from below 1 gigahertz, maybe 400 megahertz or 700 megahertz, up to the 100 gigahertz. So as we know that currently spectrum here is utilized by most of the mobile technologies, Wi-Fi, etc., TV, etc. So, but 5G will also be able to operate on these frequencies. So, wherever there is a coverage requirement, the frequency below 1 gigahertz will generally be utilized, and wherever there is a capacity requirement, so there you can they can use frequencies between 1 to 6 gigahertz, maybe say 3.5 gigahertz. So the small cell and macro cell can be installed on those frequency, and for a very high capacity, high throughput requirement, millimeter wave can be used, where very small size cell, like every 10-20 meters there will be a cell site giving a very high speed to the users around. So these are different band which 5G new radio will be supporting. So let's look at in detail. So from where these frequencies will come? So basically, if you follow ITU, so ITU in its ITU-R particularly in their WRC, World Radio Communications, which happened last year, they allocated additional bands, particularly in the millimeter wave side, 24.25 to 27.5 gigahertz, 37 gigahertz to 43.5 gigahertz, and so on. So these were allocated by ITU for IMT, International Mobile Telecommunications. So that means any of the mobile technologies can use these frequencies. We know that there are many countries which are a member of ITU, and they follow whatever allocation is done by ITU. So if you look at this allocation, if you add to this allocation, earlier allocation and this allocations, it becomes now 17.25 gigahertz for IMT. It's not only for 5G, it is for IMT. So all 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G can use it. So the earlier, prior to this allocation, the total allocation for IMT was only 1.9 gigahertz. But now with these allocation, it has increased to 17.25 gigahertz. So based on availability of this frequency band and support by a specification body 3GPP, this various frequency will be used by 5G new radio. So what are the different radio band which is given by 3GPP for 5G? Let's look at that. So once ITU has allocated for IMT, 3GPP has actually allocated specifically for 5G out of these bands and of course the existing bands. So if you look at this, so they have actually defined two frequency ranges, frequency range 1 and frequency range 2. So frequency range 1 is called FR1. So in FR1 they have said that the frequencies between 410 megahertz to 7126 megahertz, that is 7 gigahertz, can be used by 5G, including unlicensed band where we operate normally Wi-Fi. So if you look at different frequencies, 7 megahertz, 8 megahertz, 850 megahertz, 900 megahertz, 1500 megahertz, 1700 megahertz, these are the frequency which are already in use by 2G, 3G and 4G services. So the 3GPP till release 16, so release 15 is the first release for 5G and release 16 is the second one. They have said that so all these frequencies are being used by 4G, that is LTE. Now can also be, most of these can be used by 5G, except this 1700 megahertz. Rest all are part of FR1 if you go into detail. So these frequency will be utilized as part of FR1. But out of these frequency, the 3.5 gigahertz frequency is getting a momentum worldwide. Many of the operators are rolling out in this frequencies. Even the device vendors and other chip vendors have, so a lot of ecosystem is getting developed around 3.5 gigahertz in frequency range 1. If we talk about frequency range 2, it is 24.25 gigahertz to 52.6 gigahertz. We also call it millimeter wave because the lambda, the wavelength of this frequency range will come into millimeter. So that's why it is called millimeter wave. So of course the coverage will be very less, but capacity will be very high because of the bandwidth. So if you look at the three bands, three frequencies, which is 24 gigahertz, 28 gigahertz and 40 gigahertz, is gaining global momentum, and a lot of operators in different part of world have started using it. So of course with over time the ecosystem will develop and a lot more frequency bands will be utilized. So today momentum is around 3.5 gigahertz in FR1 and 24, 28 and 40 gigahertz in FR2, but it will continue to grow as system gets developed. So now let's talk about various radio bandwidth which is used in 5G or which is kind of mandated for 5G. So in for example in 4G, the maximum bandwidth which can be used was 20 megahertz, but in 5G it's very wide. So as we discussed FR1 and FR2, so in FR1 if you look at bandwidth, so the maximum is 100 megahertz. So if frequency is in the range of FR1 range, then the maximum allowed bandwidth can go up to 100 megahertz, whereas one can use 5 megahertz, 10 megahertz, 15 megahertz, 20 megahertz and so on, depending upon the availability of spectrum with an operator. But as far as specification is concerned, 100 megahertz up to 100 megahertz it can go if the frequency is below 6 gigahertz. And if it is FR2, the maximum bandwidth which can be used is 400 megahertz. So we can also aggregate different carrier, and then so you can have many 400 megahertz or 100 megahertz or combination of it, and then you can have a carrier aggregation, and the total bandwidth which can be achieved can go up to 1 gigahertz. Okay, so as per the standard ITU, we can go up to 1 gigahertz by using carrier aggregation. Okay, so now let's go on to what kind of waveform it is used in 5G radio, and what is the numerology, concept of numerology in 5G radio. So let's talk about that. Okay, so as in 4G, so in 5G also OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing waveform is used. So one of the important characteristics of OFDM is that it is orthogonal, meaning is like whenever there is a peak of one subcarrier, other carrier will have null, so the interference is very minimal. And so whatever bandwidth you have, you may have 50 megahertz bandwidth, 100 megahertz or 400 megahertz bandwidth. So you divide that bandwidth into small subcarriers, and then you transmit data parallelly onto these subcarriers. So this is how OFDM works. Okay, so let's see what is numerology in case of 5G. So if you look at this, if you look at 4G, so they use 15 kilohertz subcarrier spacing. They use a OFDM, but the subcarrier spacing is only 15 kilohertz. But in case of 5G, so multiple subcarrier spacing can be used, or they can mix and match. So for example, so we call it numerology 0 in case subcarrier spacing is 15 kilohertz, and numerology 1 means a subcarrier spacing of 30 kilohertz, numerology 2 60 kilohertz, 3 120 kilohertz, and 4 240 kilohertz. So these are just subcarrier spacing which is used in 5G. So, and these numbers, mu is kind of a numerology 0, numerology 1, okay. Resource block in terms of frequency domain is similar to 4G, wherein 12 consecutive subcarrier is called a resource block. So in case of 5G also, if you take say 15 kilohertz subcarrier spacing, and then you can have 12 such carriers contiguous, right? So 15 into 12, 15 kilohertz into 12, so it comes to 180 kilohertz. So the bandwidth in terms of frequency of a one resource block, so resource block is nothing but 12 subcarriers contiguous, so it comes to 180 kilohertz. So the size of, or the bandwidth of one resource block, if it is 15 kilohertz, is 180 kilohertz. Similarly, if it is numerology 1, then again, so number of subcarrier in a resource block will remain same. So 12 subcarriers will make one resource block. So 12 into 30 kilohertz. So here it comes 360 kilohertz. So the bandwidth of resource block has actually doubled. I mean, yeah. Similarly, if you go to numerology 2 and 3 and 4, it is the bandwidth of a resource block will be double. So 720 kilohertz, then 1440 kilohertz, then 2880 kilohertz. So in frequency domain, our bandwidth of a resource block has actually doubled. So this is what is the numerology in case of 5G. So now let's look on the time domain, how the frame structure looks like. So if you look at the frame structure, so as in 4G, one frame is 10 millisecond, right? So one frame will be 10 millisecond, and that frame will have 10 subframes. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in a one frame, you have 10 subframes. So one subframe will be of 1 millisecond. So now let's talk about the slot. So there is a concept of frame, then you have a subframe, then you have a slot, and every slot will have symbols where actual data is carried. So let's talk about different slots, okay, in different numerology. So first of all, let us talk about numerology 0. So in numerology 0, in one subframe of 1 millisecond, we will have one slot. So here one subframe is equal to one slot, right? So slot duration will be 1 millisecond. And now every slot will have 14 symbols. Okay, so every slot will have 14 symbols. What will happen? So in an entire frame, there will be how many frames? How many slots? 10 slots, because every subframe is one slot, so there will be 10 slots, and every slot have 14 symbols, so total 140 symbol in 10 millisecond, or 14 symbol in 1 millisecond. Okay, so slot duration is how much? 1 millisecond. Slot duration is 1 millisecond. Okay, so this is numerology 0. So now if you move to numerology 1, so wherein subcarrier spacing is doubled to 30 kilohertz. So in frequency domain it have doubled, but in time domain, because we will will become half, in the sense that in one subframe, now in 30 kilohertz I'll have 2 slots, and then the slot duration is becoming half, that is 0.5 millisecond. From 1 millisecond in 15 kilohertz, here the slot size is 0.5 milliseconds. So that means, and every slot will again have 14 symbols. Okay, so 14 symbols here and 14 symbols here, so 28 symbols in one subframe. And if you have 10 such subframes, so 280 symbols I have. So that means if I have increased in subcarrier spacing, I am able to transmit double the data. But of course the frequency bandwidth has doubled, but in a time domain, in a half of the time, I am able to get in capacity which was equal to 1 millisecond. Now in half millisecond I am getting. So here, if you again move to the next numerology 2, so the frequency subcarrier is doubling to 60 kilohertz, and then again it is becoming more. So from 2 slots, here it has become 4 slots within the same 1 millisecond. So that means the slot duration has again become half, 0.25 millisecond. And again here every slot will have 14 symbols. So 14 symbols will be there. So that means you have 14 plus 14, 28 plus 14 plus 14, so 56 symbols in the same 1 millisecond subframe. And if you look at the entire frame, then it will be 560. So what we are seeing is, in the frequency we are doubling, in the time we are becoming half, carrying the same data. That means in a same time we'll be able to transmit more and more, transmit or receive more and more data. Okay, so if you go to the next numerology, it is again doubled. So you have 16 such slots, and every slot since will have 14, so you'll have 24 symbols. And if you look at the entire frame of 10 milliseconds, so 2240 symbols will be accommodated. And of course the slot duration has become very, very low, that is 0.025 millisecond. So this is how the frame structure looks like in case of 5G. So we talked about numerology in frequency domain, and then how there is a concept of frame, subframe, slot, and then symbols. So as I said that there will be 14 symbol in every slot, but in some cases there will be 12 symbols. That will happen in case of 60 kilohertz subcarrier spacing. If 60 kilohertz subcarrier spacing is used for a wider coverage, so that means you require a bigger cyclic prefix. So the cyclic prefix will consume some size. So because of that, there will be only 12 slots wherein data can be carried. Moving forward, so let's understand the concept of now resource grid. So we have already understood in frequency domain subcarrier and resource block, and in time domain we have understood how symbols are formed. So this particular grid is for one subframe. So we look at here one subframe. So one subframe will contain all the subcarriers. So if your bandwidth is 100 megahertz, then if you divide that by the subcarrier whatever you're using, if you're using say 60 kilohertz, then you can divide 100 megahertz by 60 kilohertz. Of course you have to take care of the guard band. Then you'll arrive at a number of subcarriers. So in 5G there could be more than 3000 subcarriers, which is can be accommodated if you have a large bandwidth. So, so these boxes are nothing but on an x-axis. These boxes are your subcarriers. So subcarrier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And number of subcarrier will depend upon the bandwidth which you have. On the vertical side or y-axis, it is in time domain, and it will denote number of symbols. So how many symbols? So it will depend upon subcarrier. Which subcarrier? As I said that in case of 15 kilohertz, I will have in one subframe there will be one slot, and in that slot there will be a 14 symbol. So this number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 13. So 14 symbols. If it is say 30 kilohertz subcarrier, then number of symbol will double. So from 14 it will become 28, all because one subframe will have 2 time slot, and every time slot will have 14 symbols. So you will have 28 symbols. So on the y-axis, it's a time domain, and every box will denote a symbol. In x-axis, it's a frequency domain, and every box is kind of a subcarrier. And of course, 12 contiguous subcarrier is a resource block. So if you look at one cell anywhere, so that is called resource element. So you can define this in frequency and time domain. So say if it is kth subcarrier, subcarrier is 0, 1, 2. So this is kth subcarrier, and symbol is L. So L symbol 0, 1, 2. So this is L number of symbol. So it is denoted as K, L, and this is a resource element. So this is how resource grid looks like. Okay, so now so in 5G it's very frame structure is very flexible compared to 4G, and these slots or symbols can be symbols inside a slot can be used for uplink and downlink on a dynamic basis. So so for example, if it is downlink heavy, then all the symbols in a slot can be marked for downlink, and one symbol could be for uplink, and if it is uplink heavy, it can be reverse. If it is downlink only transmission with late start, so this kind of structure. For URLLC, you can utilize mini slots. For eMBB, this kind of slots where you have both the slots, you have downlink symbols and maybe one as uplink, and so on. So this is a fine grain TDD with the flexibility you can use. In a single slot you can, right. So that's how the 5G frame structure is also called flexible framework, because it has provision for forward compatibility, wherein some of the resources can be kept blank for future use. Integrated framework, that means it can be it can have support for diverse deployment, and for mission critical services you can have this kind of resources available. So basically the transmission time interval TTI is also scalable. Then self-contained slot structure, that means the entire data and control will be into the same slot, and of course you can dynamically allocate uplink or downlink data. So it is a very flexible framework of 5G. Now let's talk about various usage scenario of 5G numerology. We talked about subcarrier frequency 15 kilohertz, 30 kilohertz, 60 kilohertz, numerology 0 to numerology 4. So what are the different usage scenarios? So just have a look at it. So basically, if you look at this diagram, on the x-axis I have frequency. So starting from some 1 gigahertz lower frequency to very high frequency up to 100 gigahertz, and on the left side y-axis it is cell size of the cell or the coverage, and on the right side it is the latency. So if you look at the lower numerology, that is 15 kilohertz, will primarily be used for larger coverage. It can also be used for a medium coverage or small cell kind of deployment, but uh, since cyclic prefix in 15 kilohertz subcarrier will be a bit larger, so if you use it for small cell, it will be kind of a wastage of those resources. So it's better that we use, if requirement is of small cell, then 30 kilohertz or 60 kilohertz subcarrier spacing can be used, wherein CP size will be a bit low, and also latency will also be better. If latency is the requirement, then you can get a very low latency. So primarily in the lower frequency, all the subcarriers up to 60 kilohertz can be used, but if you want a larger coverage and latency is not a critical requirement, the larger cell size can be used. Similarly, if you move forward, so normally on to the higher frequency, the higher numerology used. So if you look at the in FR1 itself, maybe beyond 1 gigahertz, you can use for larger cell coverage, you can use 30 kilohertz. For a smaller cell coverage, you can use the 60 kilohertz. So whenever there is a larger coverage, so latency is also less, because signal has to go up to that and come back. And if 60 kilohertz small cell, then going and coming will take less time, so it will be more better latency. Now this is 60 kilohertz subcarrier spacing is used both side in FR1 and FR2. So, and from there itself it changes from a normal coverage to a beam forming kind of a coverage. So when we use beam forming kind of a coverage, then the cyclic prefix used is a normal cyclic prefix. When the 60 kilohertz is used for coverage, kind of more coverage, then this can be you should have extended CP, which is, so 60 kilohertz is the only subcarrier where normal CP, cyclic prefix, and extended CP both can be used, and so on. So it's a trade-off between coverage and latency and which subcarrier spacing. So higher the frequency, higher order of subcarrier spacing or numerology is used. So practically what will happen is that, suppose you want to use 700 megahertz radio band, then example is that you may use subcarrier spacing of 15 kilohertz, and different bandwidth which you can use is 1, 5, 10 or 20 megahertz. If you go higher onto that, 3 to 5 gigahertz, that may be for small cell, slightly small cell, or the macro coverage. So 30 kilohertz subcarrier spacing can be used, and carrier bandwidth up to 100 megahertz can be used. Similarly, if you go to the unlicensed band 6 gigahertz for indoor coverage, so there you can use, say, these are just an example, 60 kilohertz and carrier bandwidth up to 160 megahertz. And of course, we start using in millimeter wave, then maybe subcarrier spacing of 120 kilohertz and carrier bandwidth up to 400 megahertz can be used. So these are the various usage scenario of different numerology, subcarrier spacing and channel bandwidth. And this is just an example. There could be some other way of deployment too. So now let's talk about massive MIMO, beam forming and beam steering. If you look at this, so in 5G radio, massive MIMO, so there will be a large number of antenna element in the antenna panel will be there. So it will be more than 100, maybe even go up to 1,000 and so on. And unlike 5G, where you have antenna arrays, so on a set of antenna element will form an array, and those are kind of maneuvered combinedly. Whereas in 5G, every antenna element can be controlled. So the way it is said that every antenna element can be controlled, and once we are able to control every antenna element, we'll be able to form beam, and beam can be then steered, right? And this beam can be very dynamic, in the sense that if a user is trying to use the network, so beam will point to them, and this will also, so it is like this, that a particular a massive MIMO antenna can, if a user is here on a high-rise building, it will, so normally in the normal antenna you'll see that all the coverage is downside. In beam forming antenna, you can actually point to the users, different users which are using wherever there is a high bandwidth requirement. So for example, these houses are already having a 4G macro coverage, but if there is a usage of very high bandwidth, then this antenna will form a beam. And these beam can also be steered, in the sense that if a moving vehicle is going, so this will also be, so from one beam will actually follow this car, and then once it is beyond this antenna, then it will hand over to the next antenna. So the beam forming is a kind of 3D, up, down, in all direction it is able to form the vertical beam forming or azimuth beam forming, and that way it will have a multiple beam pointing towards it. So with beam forming, so your efficiency gets increased, because you are able to concentrate the energy onto the beam, and then you become efficient, and it will also not interfere with the other signal or other beams, so it becomes very efficient and reduces the interference. So with this, let me thank all of you. So thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any question, you can write down onto the comment box. Thanks a lot.